Thank you to KiwiCo for sponsoring this video. More on them later, but right now, let's get to the staple guns. Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave with a tool tip about nailers and staplers. And in my first pass in my head, I wanted to say a comprehensive tool tip, but nothing I've ever done on this channel is comprehensive. It's just my experience. However, I have undergone a progression of understanding the utility of staplers and nail guns over the course of my making career. And I'm going to share that with you. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus a surprise at the end. Nail guns and staplers are guns. They shoot nails and staples to hold things together. Like any real gun, you need to not point it at anyone you don't want to harm. This one's not plugged into air. You need to treat it as if it's loaded, and you can hurt yourselves a lot with these. So follow safety practices when you're using these, and I'll talk to you about some of the ways they can harm you that you don't expect. But mostly I just want to give a primer on these, because when I first started using pneumatic staple guns, I only bought this one like maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 8 years ago. I'm a new convert to this, even though I used this extensively when I worked in the theater industry. So this is the one I'm going to start with. This is called a narrow crown stapler. It fires these. These are grouped together with a lacquer, just like normal staples that you use for stapling papers together. In fact, all of these are. And narrow crown staplers are like, look, I haven't been to every theater company in America, but I'm pretty sure that most theater in the world runs on a narrow crown stapler. It was like the most primary tool we used besides a drywall screw gun. And narrow crown staples are great. They, like I said, they have a narrow crown. I think they're about, yeah, it's just about 1/4 inch wide. They come in multiple lengths. And I store them with one out front that shows me the size. That means when I have a bunch of them and I want to put it back, all I need to do is hold it up to the staple and then I know that's the right size. That's a separate build that I did when I organized my staples and nails. We'll include a link below. The narrow crown stapler loads like this. This one. Sorry, I've actually also got a spread spectrum of brands. I've got DEWALT, Makita, Campbell Hausfeld, Senko, and Wen. And then I have one more. Don't know which brand it is. Okay, so on the DEWALT, you drop in the staples. There it is. It's ready to go. I connect it up to some air. Okay, and now it's ready to go. It has a safety here down on the bottom, and you can actually lock it out so it can't be fired. Always good to do that in case someone's visiting your shop. And I'm going to drive a staple here. Oh, it also has this safety catch here, which it won't fire unless the safety catch is pulled. There we go. I'll show you coming through. This is a 1-inch narrow crown staple. So it's something you need to pay attention to, is that it can kick wood off of the front. And if you look here carefully, you can see that it buries a little bit. You can actually vary how much it buries. You can vary its bury. I don't really ever worry about that setting unless I'm doing woodworking in which I don't want to see the thing, so I want it to be right up close to the surface. On this, you can dial that in. And each of these guns has different amounts that you can adjust how much power it applies behind the staple. So that's a narrow crown staple gun. Now, the use of the word narrow as a modifier leads one to believe that there is something called a wide crown stapler. And in fact, there are several. This is the main one that I use. I think this is 3/8 of an inch wide. This is a Makita one. I'm not super familiar with it. I rarely use this. I rarely have a need for the beef that these put out. We used them a lot on Mythbusters for doing like rough assembly of large stuff. But for me here in the shop, this is a very rare tool. But it loads similarly. You put the staples on top of this rail. There's always a spring-loaded thing that comes behind them. And when I connect it up to air, you'll get to see how it works. Okay, we'll drive it in from this side. And again, this one also has a safety. Just for the rest of your life, don't ever use your fingers to pull back the safety. I never do. Yes, I did pull back that safety way back in 1992 when I was working in a wood shop, and I almost got my finger, and ever since then I have never touched the safeties with my hands, so don't. But here we go. Yeah, this puts out a tremendous amount of power. You can feel it. Watch it coming through here. Whoa! Ah! And this is how you can get in trouble with a stapler. So let's just do a quick stapler 101 safety, which is when you are stapling, the only rule is the other hand that's not operating the stapler should not be in the line of fire. It should not be linearly in the line of fire. Even if you've got wood out here, I would not be holding that piece like this, simply because I have seen staples go through and kick staples past where you think they can go, and they've gone through the finger of a colleague of mine. Plus, there's a lot of power here, and it can double fire, and if it double fires, you can, yeah. Just always think, whenever I use a table saw, I picture that a group of clowns is about to walk through with a 55-gallon drum of greased ball bearings, and they're going to spill them at my feet. And I stand accordingly so that even those clowns wouldn't get me to fall onto my table saw. That's like my preemptive mind about the table saw. Staple gun, I am always assuming that these staples have tasted blood and only want more. I'm considering them a hostile enemy. That is your wide crown stapler. Again, like I said, I have this because I'm a completist. I use it maybe once every 2 years. This is a brad gun. Now, I've had a brad gun for years that I love, and it is this DEWALT, and I just burned it out. We're going to take a little pause here to talk about why I burned this out. I have two battery systems here. I have the old style with the tall, proud little plug, and then I have the new lithium-ion style DEWALT batteries that slide in. And all of the old style, because I have almost no tools left that use this, all those batteries are dead. So I was looking around for any live battery that I could find, and I found this, which a fan had made me. A fan had built this for me. And so I plugged it in, and I plugged it into the wall, and it fried the motor because this was meant to plug in to this transformer. There was no transformer in here. So look, the person that gave this to me did actually point out that this receives 10 amps, 125 volts, but they did not explain that there was no transformer in here. It's never good practice to put an Edison plug, that's what this is called, on the end of something that doesn't want to receive house power. Famously, Nilo Rodis Jamero, on the night before the first day of principal photography on Howard the Duck, was showing producers of the movie The Duck Puppet. And back in those days, ILM powered, according to Nilo, they powered the servos with, I don't know, 9 volts, 12 volts, whatever it was, but they used an Edison plug to plug into the battery system. And Nilo plugged that into the wall and fried 20 plus servos in Howard the Duck the night before principal photography. And as Nilo tells the story, Mark Satrakian, young genius Mark Satrakian, who we've covered on the channel many times, spent all night replacing all of these 20 servos so that they could be ready for the next morning. Don't do it. Don't put an Edison plug on something not meant to receive house power, ever. All right. That being said, let's get back to our regular scheduled programming. A brad gun. Hi, everybody. This is a brad gun, and it fires brads, which are nails, and again, held together in the same way. And a brad gun, this one works in a funny way. You slide the brads in the back here. There. So the brads have slid in behind, are being held by the spring, and we'll connect this up to air. Ooh. And again, this one has an adjustment screw for adjusting the height of the brad. And this is the machine for which this is really helpful. So I'm going to drive a brad from here. Oh, all right. I can actually see that there's a bent brad sticking out of the nozzle of this. So before I continue, I'm going to clear that. These guns often have really easy ways to clear the nail or staple pathway because nails and staples do get munged. It is an occupational hazard of these things. There we go. There we go. And okay, we are good. KiwiCo makes kits and toys designed to engage kids in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Everything you need is in each of the kits. There's no hunting for scissors or tape or one paper clip. It's all in each box. Last year, I built their ukulele. Still in tune. No, it's not. More recently, I built a tilt and fold desk, which I now am, as I'm looking at it, I see that I mounted the entire desk platen upside down, which is super on brand for me. The builds themselves are meaty and truly engaging. Even for me, who's been building stuff for over 40 years, I had a great time making both of these things. Ultimately, I don't think there's any more empowering thing you can do than give a kid a box of parts and some instructions in a few hours. Because when they end up making a thing, they learn something about the world that nothing else can teach them. That's real empowerment. We have a special offer for tested viewers. If you go to kiwico.com/tested, you will get 50% off any of the subscription crates they offer. They make fantastic Christmas gifts, and there's still time. I'm gonna drive it from here. There we go. And I'll drive it from over here. And let's see, what is plus or minus? I'm gonna go minus. Oh, that just adjusts where the, oh, that's nice. Okay, this does have a feature I like. It adjusts where the exhaust goes. One of the things that can happen with these is you can be using them and have your face right next to the tool and it'll fire the thing and then exhaust a bunch of air right in your face. It's happened to all of us. This has a little adjustable place so you can adjust that, but I don't know why it's not functioning. Come on. There it is. Now she works. If you have a stapler or a nail gun, you will get used to clearing the barrel, as it were, because it can get munged. Your nail can hit an obstacle and back up in there. They just get munged from time to time, but here we go. These brads are 18 gauge, and in the nail department, again, this is not a tool I use frequently. I feel like the stapler holds better, but I have really liked being able to dial in the depth of these brads. They have a nice level top, and I've been able, for some woodworking, to dial it in where I need almost no filler to fill the place where the brads were, and that's really nice. However, if invisibility is your game, then this 22/23 gauge finish nailer is maybe my favorite nailer in the shop. And Tom Sachs introduced me to these. These use very, very fine little nails. They're 22/23 gauge. The nails have arrows painted on them, so you know which way to put them in. And again, you load them and put a spring back behind them, hook them up to air. And these also have, they have a safety that is this thing. So you actually pull this down in order to pull it. However, it fires without the tip being depressed. So this is the one that can get you into trouble. But let's pop one in from the front. So yeah, look at this. From the front, where's the thing? I don't see it. Now let me show you from the back. Watch this. Yeah, this thing, I love this. I actually use this almost just like a clamp. I glue stuff and then I use this to like hold it together while the glue is setting. I know I should be clamping more, but until I do, this is my clamp, the 23 gauge nailer. I love this thing. These guys are almost invisible. Again, your hand should not be anywhere in the line of fire. When you are utilizing this, like oftentimes you'll have to do some positioning and then literally pull your hand back in order to drive it. Yeah. One of the things that can happen, one of the reasons to adjust the height of the staple is not just cosmetic. On the narrow crown stapler, if I'm stapling through like cheap 1/4 inch plywood, sometimes the staple can go so hard it actually goes through most of the plywood, which means it's not actually holding onto the board with the alacrity I want it to. And so I'd back off, depending on the length of the staple I'm shooting, in order to have it be holding as much mechanical force as I want it to. The second most recent shooter I have added to my collection is this, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, there must be an automatic version of this. Hold on, I'll show you what I mean. This is probably most of yours first experience with an industrial stapler. I mean, we all had the stapler at school. This is a T50 staple gun, and the T50 staple, this is like all upholstery works with this thing. Every artist stretches a canvas using these. It's even got a little notch up front for doing your phone cords and your internet around your house. T50 staples are fabulous. T50 staplers are a pain in the ass. They take force and they're tiring to use. And after you've done like 30, your arm starts to like burn out, smoke comes out of your elbow, it's no good. So I had this project to do. What was it? What was I doing where I needed a whole bunch of staples? Oh, I was making my poker table. I was making the poker table and I knew I was going to be stapling. I was like, this is just I'm going to want to like hurt myself at the end of a day using this. And so I just did a search, pneumatic T50 stapler, and lo, reader, this is the one that I was looking for. I'm putting the tallest staples that go in this. And again, just like all the other staplers, spring back, holding it in. This thing doesn't have a safety or a retractable tip. These staples are fairly lightweight, like don't shoot it at people across the shop, but I'm least worried about these staples. I don't mean to say I'm not worried, I'm the least worried. The nice thing is, I gotta tell you, the moment I did this the first time, I was like astounded. And note that there's a difference between how deep it goes on the surface as opposed to on the edge. That's going to be something you want to experiment with if it matters to you. But for holding down cloth, this thing makes me so freaking happy. I love this. This is my favorite. This is my second favorite right now. I'm just like, it's changed my life in terms of my relationship to T50 staples. Here's something really interesting to note. If I put the staple out towards the edge, see that? That's looking for you. It's wanting your flesh right there. So even though, this is why you stay far away. I wouldn't even put my hand here. I'd put it over here, out of the line of fire, because these guys can come out. They can chase. Yeah, be careful. Now I have one more thing that shoots things to show you, and it came about last year. I visited Jack White's shop in Nashville. Memphis, what is wrong with my head? I visited Jack White's shop in Nashville, and he turned me on to an unbelievable thing, which is this. This is a pneumatic gun that shoots upholstery tacks. Yeah, no, seriously. Upholstery tacks. I was like, no way, dude. And he's like, yes way, dude. And then he handed it to me, and I drove one in his shop, and these are not cheap. This is a niche item. This is made by C.S. Osborne & Co. It's number 6750 from Harrison, New Jersey. I've been beating the hell out of it in the last couple of days, building a fake Louis Vuitton case. It is the difference between putting these things in by hand and putting them in with this is just like, it doesn't even compare. There is absolutely no comparison. It's amazing. Now, I do find some manufacturing vagaries in the tacks themselves. They don't always fire perfectly straight. This thing is incredible. Holy cow, it makes me want to... Jack started out as an upholsterer, and like, this shifted his whole thinking on it, and oh man, did it shift mine. I love this. So it's like really increased the best tools increase what's possible in your shop. And like I said, I started out with just this. This was the only shooter I had for years. Then I went and got the Brad. Then I went and got the narrow crown because Tom Sachs told me about it. Then I got the wide crown, the T50, and like I said, the final one is the upholstery tack. They make one of these that shoots them automatically, like there's a big hopper and it loads them. That one's way more expensive and a little harder to aim. Yeah, this one is the one that I prefer of the two makers of the upholstery tack gun. Okay, I think we've covered, this is basically, yeah, a coverage of my experience of tools that shoot, attachment methods. I have never driven any of these through any of my appendages or my flesh. I'm grateful for that. These are very dangerous tools. They can get you in a lot of trouble very quickly. And if you drive one into your finger and it goes into the bone, that's a bad thing to happen to you. Not just from a pain standpoint, but from an infection exposure standpoint, it's very bad. So please handle these with the utmost of care, more care than you've seen me use in this video even, perhaps. Thank you guys for joining me for this tool tip. I'm Adam Savage, and I will see you next time.